I read fantasy romance. People have tails and shit.
Yeah.
I'm not opposed to people not having exactly human anatomy.
Yeah.
That's not my issue.
Yeah.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to BYOB, the Bring Your Own Book podcast. I'm Nikki.
And I'm Kelly.
And this week we have a special Valentine's Day episode where we're going to talk about any and all things romance subgenres, and romance tropes. And I think to dive into it, maybe we'll just talk about kind of what we like about romance or what our experience is with romance. So Kelly, if you want to go first.
Sure. So, okay, I'm super excited to be here as always, but to be talking about romance because I've just found myself over the years just loving romance more and more over the years as I get older. Like, I don't know. I think growing up, I was very tomboyish and I was like, I don't like this stuff, whatever. And then as I became a teenager, I realized like, no, I do like it. And like I watch rom-coms all the time. The books I was reading at the time were like contemporary romance or like chick lit, kind of like Shopaholic, Sophie Kinsella, Meg Cabot, that kind of stuff. And then when I got back into reading during the pandemic, that's when it all came back, you know. I've recently got into historical romance, which we'll talk about a little later. But I will read basically anything in the romance genre. Like there's very few things that I will not touch, which we will also get to because I know that we have different reading tastes in general, but also with romance. So yeah, I love it. I love it.
I love that you love it. For myself, I feel like when I was younger, I read a lot of young adult fantasy romance or fantasy where the romance was quite a large subplot. And then I kind of fell away from romance altogether. I probably until we started doing the podcast really was when I first picked up a real like contemporary romance book. I loved a few of them, but they're huge like hits or misses for me.
Yeah.
And then I discovered Kindle Unlimited and I was like, oh, people publish Wattpad books on real book apps. Great. That's what I want.
Yes.
And so I started reading a lot of dark romance. I started off with more fantasy-based romance, the Never King series by Nikki St. Crow, and a few vampire romance series. And then I delved into mafia, and then just straight up dark romance, just regular people that do bad things. And yeah, I love it. I am trying to steer less towards that this year, though, because I feel like I copped out majorly with my reading list last year with a lot of mindless stuff, which is great. But my bookshelves are certainly full of things that are not mindless and want to be read.
Yeah, right? I know. They're just such good palate cleansers, though, I find, especially when you're in a slump, because you're like, okay, regardless of the genre, it's going to end well for the two, or however many people there are in this book, you know? And it's just like, you know what's going to happen. Even if there's like a little twist, you always know what's going to happen. Like, they're going to be together. So it's sometimes just fun to just like escape for a bit, you know, live vicariously through their relationship and then get back to your life at some point. But
yeah, for sure. I think part of that, how do I say it, that the plot structure for romance books is why I don't gravitate towards contemporary romance, because a lot of them are kind of office romance or fake dating, which I love fake dating in a romance book. But in contemporary romance, the stakes compared to a dark romance, are so much lower.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, he said something to somebody and there was a miscommunication and I just don't want to talk to him for 5 minutes about it. So we're going to break up and not be together over this thing that could have been cleared up in like under an hour.
Yeah.
Whereas dark romance, it's like, he shot my brother and now I have to grapple with that internal struggle of, do I stay with my family or do I go with the person that I love?
He kidnapped me, but he's cute. What do I do? Yeah.
The struggle is real, you know?
Literally. Yeah.
Yes.
I know what you're saying though, because like I'll read contemporary sometimes, but it has to be like above and beyond a normal contemporary book. Like it's got to be hilarious, or it's got to be like the best cinnamon roll ever. Cinnamon roll, for anyone who doesn't know, is like a big, burly, rough on the outside, super soft and sweet in the inside guy. So he could be like, and you can like have a cinnamon roll in any genre or subgenre. It doesn't have to be contemporary, but like you can have a dark romance with a cinnamon roll, or you can have like a grumpy sunshine with a cinnamon roll, or like best friend's brother cinnamon roll, whatever. But like, yeah, if it's going to be contemporary for me, it's got to be hilarious, or like I've got to be totally in love with these people, or there's got to be something, you know, to draw me in, because otherwise it's like, I already live in the real world. Like I'm married, I'm happily married, but like I want to go to like freaking Fae world or whatever. Like I want to like escape Earth.
Yeah. I think that's why I loved, well, I don't like all of the books in the series, but Well Met by Jen DeLuca was my first, I think the first romance book, like really titled romance book that I read. And it takes place at a Ren fair. So we're in theater. Anybody who's listened to the podcast before has to know that, because we say it all the time. So there was that aspect, and also this other character, other persona aspect of the book. And that really enhanced it for me. It wasn't the spiciest book ever, but that didn't even matter, because the plot and what was going on with these characters was so fun.
Yes.
Yeah.
So whimsical and magical. Like, who doesn't want to be whisked off by a dashing, charming pirate, or like a knight? Like, hello.
I know.
Oh my God, sign me up.
Right? I know. And I think with specifically contemporary romance, it's either a 5-star or I'm DNFing it, basically. I've never had one where I'm in between and I'm like, oh, well, that was fine. Like, it was good to pass the time, but it wasn't my favorite. I just don't get those with contemporary romance.
Yeah, that's fair. I do, but I will more often DNF or just not even pick it up, because like I'll look at the cover, I'll read the synopsis, and if I'm like, this seems just too basic, bitch, like I don't want to read it.
I know.
You know? Like, I don't know. I don't know if you do this, but sometimes when I'm at the bookstore or the library, I'll just like casually flip through the pages. Like I'll just, whatever you call it, like I don't look at each page, but I just like flip through the pages and scan quickly to see if there's any explicit words. Because I need to know. I need to know going in, is this closed door? Is there sexy times? Like, what is happening? Because I mean, there's nothing wrong with a clean romance, but I need to know going in, because true story, I once read an ebook called The Baby Maker, okay? The Baby Maker. What was supposed to happen? Baby making, okay? She wanted a baby. She wanted a baby so bad. And there was this stupid, convoluted reason as to why she like talked to this one guy in town and was like, you're gonna get me a baby or whatever. You're gonna make a baby with me. The cover was a shirtless dude with no face. Like, it just showed his chest, okay? They didn't even care about his face. Was there any sex? No. It was fade to black every time. And I'm like, okay, why the title and the cover? Like, I don't understand.
Yeah, and I feel like romance as a genre, as a whole genre, people are looking for very specific things.
Yes.
You have a lot of people getting kind of real here, people who have trauma surrounding certain situations with romantic partners, people who they just have boundaries that they don't necessarily want to cross while reading something. And I would love if whoever the god of romance publishing is could set a standard. Dark romances have trigger warnings or something along those lines, where you see that there are things in the book that maybe you don't want to read.
Yeah.
I think all romance books should have that. Maybe it should have a thing that says like closed door or fade to black.
Yeah.
Or have
Sweet.
a kind of generic spicy rating.
Yeah.
Or different things that kind of come up in the book.
Yeah.
Because you don't have to look at them. I don't usually look at trigger warnings for books if I know the general idea, because I know kind of what is going to be coming up.
Yeah.
But I don't want to read a whole book that's 400 pages and get to page 350 and they still haven't had sex. And I'm like, why am I here?
Yeah, and especially, I'm sorry, everyone is trying to like market their fantasy romance books over the past few years as like the next ACOTAR or the next From Blood and Ash, like whatever. We get it. You're marketing, trying to get us to read your book. We get it. However, don't say it's a steamy read if there's no sex. Like, what? Where's the steam? And you can have tension, sure, but like then don't say it's a spicy read or a steamy read. Like it's not.
No.
You lied.
And especially marketing things to be like ACOTAR, especially. From Blood and Ash does have some spicy stuff.
Yeah.
But it's not nearly as spicy as ACOTAR is, especially as the books progress.
Oh.
It's just more and more. The last book, A Court of Silver Flames, I think the whole last half of the book was almost exclusively sex.
What? I've only read the
was
first two. Oh my god.
Fire. It was great. But yeah, that's when somebody says this is the next ACOTAR, that's what I'm thinking. I'm expecting that level. I just don't have time to waste. If someone says that that's what it's going to be like, that's what I want it to be like.
Oh my god.
Or else I would have just read ACOTAR again.
Yeah. Or like an Amish romance, which I have never read. And I'm
Should we read one?
I mean, we can try. I'm kind of like, I don't want to say terrified, but I'm definitely not excited. I'm like, what is this?
I'm terrified.
Like, what happens? I mean, it would have to be an Amish person with an Amish person, right? Like, or maybe it's like an outsider comes in and then she's like churning the butter and she's like, oh, it's curdled. And then she sees this guy. I don't know.
And then she starts milking the cow, if you know what I mean.
That can't happen. It's a clean romance.
Yeah,
Maybe
I don't
they're
know.
not.
I don't know.
Maybe they're dirty Amish romances. I don't know.
I have, no clue. I think it could go either way. There has to be some that get pretty
right
explicit.
Maybe listeners, if you know, let us know, because like, I'm sorry, Amish people have to have sex too. Like,
yep.
So
I mean, they have a lot of kids, so
true.
They must.
True. So let us know, please. Any recommendations? Pass them on. But like, I will read a clean book occasionally, but I need to know going in. Otherwise, I'm annoyed. So,
yeah,
just tell me up front what you're about.
I don't think I really like clean ones, but I think because when I want to read a romance, I want to read about the romance.
Yeah.
I don't read romance for the plot. I do like my romance books to have a plot, especially when it comes to contemporary romance. That's the only way it really holds me, is if I find what's going on interesting. Mm-hmm. But I don't, unless it's a YA romance.
Yeah.
I do love a YA romance.
I do too.
Like the tension, and it's not even like some of them have sexual tension and everything.
Yeah.
But it's also just the build up and the sweetness of the build up to them getting together at the end, or he holds my hand or something. Authors who are writing books that are centered towards, I'm going to say, people under 18.
Yeah.
Where there's a little bit more censorship with what people might want their kids to and to not read. They are so skilled. They generally are so skilled at writing these instances where there's no sex involved at all. And you feel so many things for the characters, and you feel so much love and like wanting and yearning.
Yes.
And I feel just as much satisfaction from like seeing the characters hold hands or kiss for the first time as I do when I read an adult romance and a lot of steamy stuff happens.
Yes. I recently read Talia Hibbert's first YA book called Highly Suspicious and Unfairly Cute, and it was everything that the title promised. It was so sweet. Like, they made out a couple times, I think, but that was the most it got to. And there was so much build up and pining, and there was a moment where he like plays with a pom-pom on her ankle sock, and I was like, oh, like, you know what I mean? It's just, they know what they're doing. They're setting the scene. They're making us feel how we felt, or how the teens are feeling when they're at the movie theater and they're like, oh my God, their arm is touching my arm, you know, like,
I miss that feeling.
Me too.
The nervous energy.
I mean, I have a lot of nervous energy, but I want the romantic nervous energy.
Yes. Specifically.
Yes.
I agree.
But speaking of YA, what a great time to talk about YA versus new adult versus adult, because a lot of people seem to think that it's a genre. It's not a genre. It's an age category.
It's not the bad bitch genre.
No. Not everybody fits on the roster, okay? So we had to say that at least once this episode.
I love it.
I mean, come on.
Because we're going to say genre a lot.
Yes. And romance is the bad bitch genre, okay? Because, quick sidebar, people make fun of people who read romance all the time, especially men, but women too. Women make fun of other women all the time. We know this. Women are the worst. We love you, but you're also the worst. Be nice, everyone. You know? But
it's
like,
not that hard.
Yeah, I hate when guys are so rude about it, because I'm like, your partners, if it's a woman, you guys are benefiting from your partner reading this. And even if, honestly, if your partner's not a woman, you're still benefiting, you know? So like, shut up. Shut up. But anyways, sidebar done. YA, young adult, is like 17, sometimes 18 or 19-year-old characters and down. New adult is like 18 to 30 usually is your main character. And then adult is anything. But like, honestly, I don't really care. Like, I don't know. It doesn't bother me, YA versus new adult, whatever. But like, I get why we have them for people who just want to know what they're reading, or like, if you're a parent, like, is this appropriate for my child or whatever? I don't know. But like, new adult seems a little like, why, you know?
Yeah. That's what I was just going to say. I don't really understand the recent gravitation towards authors and publishing houses labeling works as new adult in any genre, really. I don't know who that's serving. Before 2 years ago, I don't know, I never used to hear the term new adult.
No.
I feel like that's very recent.
Yeah.
And I mean, they're adults. Who cares? Just call them an adult.
I'm a new adult.
Right. We're still new adults if it's all the way to 30.
Oh, I'm almost not, though. Oh my God, I'm going to be an old adult? What? New adult, old adult? Is that what they're trying to say? How dare you? Used adult? Okay.
Oh. That could be a subgenre of romance for sure.
But Kay, like, new adult, honestly, when I first heard the term, I thought it was like, oh, it's not romance, but it's not erotica. It's in the middle. That's what I thought it was.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So I was so confused when people were like, yeah, it's new adult. I was like, oh, okay. Okay. Like, it's going to be steamy, but it's not going to be like
Well, it's like
erotica or whatever. Like, okay.
it's like in this book they do hand stuff, but nothing else. Your first foray into romance.
What would that book be called if it was only hand stuff? Like, give us a hand or give, I don't know. Lend a hand. Oh
I think that's exactly it.
Sorry, I had to cough so bad.
That's okay.
Okay, but are there any tropes that you're just like, ew, no fucking way am I ever reading this? Because I feel like I only have maybe one or two.
There are, I don't really know. I don't love celebrity romance. I don't really like books about celebrities in general.
Okay.
I wouldn't pick it up unless you were like, this is a great book and you will love it, or we did it for the podcast. So celebrity, no. And I don't really love triangles either.
Yeah.
I'm not into that.
No.
It gives me major anxiety, and I don't think there's anything sexy about somebody getting upset.
No. And also, it's never with mature people. It's always like, okay, I'm thinking of Twilight specifically when we talk about love triangles, because that was like a formative experience of both of our youths, okay?
Yes.
Like, the love triangle in that, I was so pissed off the entire time. I was like, can you just choose someone and tell the other person to fuck off? Like, I'm so tired of hearing this guy whine and then this guy whine, and then you're like, oh, I don't know what to do. Like, just shut up, decide. Like, but on the flip side, now, well, I say now, I guess now to me, because I guess I've recently discovered or whatever, there's now a trope of why choose. So that's like polyamory. Could be reverse harem, could just be polyamory, but like where there's several people interested in one person, and instead of having the will they, won't they, who do I choose, whatever, it's just like, yeah, why not? Let's date, or like, let's just do whatever, like whatever. So, hey, I mean, go for it.
I've read a few books like that from Kindle Unlimited, and I really liked them.
Yeah.
I think the trope itself, I don't have a problem with.
No.
The issues with the books for me were really more plot-based, where I felt like the story wasn't very strong to support the characters. Because when you have a regular romance and there's just two people involved, that's a lot to keep up with. But then when you have like 3 or 4 people involved, that's a lot of character and subplot to hold up.
Yeah.
And you need to be pretty strong and pretty dynamic in what you're going to do with that to keep people engaged.
Yeah.
I read a series called Savage Love.
Okay.
And it was a kind of reverse harem, why choose, with a girl and 3 men. And it was 3 books long. So each book kind of she discovered her relationship deeper with each guy.
Okay.
But the overarching plot, by the 3rd book, it was very tired. And I was just like, I don't even care about them, like their relationship to each other anymore, because I just wanted the plot to be done.
Yeah.
So you have to be really good with juggling all of the characters, but I think it's a fun one.
Yeah.
To read.
And it's empowering too, because like, I mean, for myself, I'm not personally interested in that kind of life, but I enjoy reading it because it's like, wow, look at this girl. I mean, the ones I read is usually a girl with like several men or whatever interested in her. And like, it's like, wow, all these guys who are different and have like their own things going on, whatever, they're all interested in her. And they care about her, and they're focused on her, and they're attentive, and like all this stuff. So yeah, I'm like, go for it. Instead of like this stupid, in my opinion, stupid, like immature, possessive, jealous love triangle. It's just like, I'm into you. Are you into me? Oh, you're also into other people? Okay, that's fine. Let's do it. You know? Like, let's give this a go. I like it. It's fun.
Yeah, I do too. I definitely can't think about it too much in terms of if it was me, because like you, I'm not interested in it, but mostly because I'm like, that's a lot of work.
Yeah.
To be emotionally responsible for 3 other people's feelings.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
No. And plus, like, you know, I'm very private, and I'm very like, who I choose to include in my circle of family, friends, acquaintances is very small. So there's no friggin' way that I'd be like, yeah, I'm totally into 3 guys. Let's go. Like, no.
Yeah.
Not for me.
I just don't know how somebody encounters 3 people that at the same time or around the same time. I don't know. The logistics of that are weird to me, but I do like reading about it.
The weirdest one I read was Tessa Bailey's Happenstance. Okay.
Oh, is that the one where they're in the gondola or whatever?
The gondola, the power goes out for like an hour and they meet and fall in love. And then they like they do really stupid stalkerish kind of things to like keep bumping into her. Like they take her security pass from work, so they have to go to her work to give it to her and all this stuff. And they decide, okay, why choose? You know, let's give it a go, whatever, all this stuff. But I'm like, you don't know anything about these people. And they were so like one-dimensional characters, but insta love, super protective, possessive, whatever. So like some moments were kind of fun, but overall I was like, what is this? Which is just how I feel about Tessa Bailey in general, honestly. I was trying to make a list of favorite authors or like autobi authors for this episode. And when I was looking at the romance books I'd read over the past like 3 or 4 years, every year I had at least Tessa Bailey.
At least Tessa Bailey.
Every year I had at least one Tessa Bailey book that I had read. And the ratings were all over the place. Like, I don't feel comfortable saying she's an autobi. And yet I have read almost every single one of her books.
She's the one, okay, she's the one who wrote the fisherman one, right?
It Happened One Summer.
Yeah.
Sinker. Yeah.
Yeah. I started that one and I DNF'd it.
Yeah. She's like not great, but she's also fun at times. Like she also wrote My Killer Vacation, and that's the one I read with you when we tried to do a 24-hour readathon. And within 30 minutes of them meeting, he was on his knees licking her stomach out on the pavement. Like, what? What is this? It was weird. He also said to her, "You're not getting knifed, you're getting wifed." So
I can't tell if I really love that or really hate it.
Same. Yeah, it's kind of like a balancing act. I have no idea.
Yeah.
But like she always has some fun moments, but then she'll have this really weird choice of word in her like dirty talk. Like in My Killer Vacation, he called her vagina a thing. And I'm like, I don't like that. Like if you can't say any other word but thing when you're talking about your partner's private parts, like, I don't know, in the throes of passion.
Yeah.
Your sweet thing. What thing? I'm expecting like
that.
Who's that singer? That thing, that, you know?
I don't know.
Well, it wasn't that. It was something else.
It wasn't that thing. It was another thing.
Yes. My female parts, as Ruby Dixon would say, or girl parts, whatever.
Dixon Ruby.
I can't.
Yeah. That's another subgenre that I don't think I will be delving into again. Monster romance.
Yeah.
I think that's not for me.
No, it's just like, I don't know. Sometimes it's funny to read just for like the shock value or like, what is this, you know? But it's definitely not for me, and I'm assuming you as well, that like we don't enjoy the romance of it. It's just kind of like, oh, okay.
Well, I think I mean, I don't know, maybe if a book was written better than the Ice Planet Barbarians books, I can understand why people like them, but I don't understand why they like them. Do you like them because you also think they're funny and they're a fast read? Or do you like them because you're getting some kind of like gratification out of it? Like in terms of when I read a dark romance or when you read like a historical romance, you're like, oh, this is spicy. Like, ooh, so hot. Are people reading those and thinking that? No judgment. I just spent the whole books being like, I don't know what is anatomically happening because I feel like every time they described the spur, it was different.
Yeah.
So I was getting really caught up on the details of how the anatomy was working, and I couldn't even let myself get to that point. I read fantasy romance. People have tails and shit. Yeah. I'm not opposed to people not having exactly human anatomy.
Yeah.
That's not my issue.
Yeah.
Just the only romance books I've read that are classified as monster romance or some kind of thing like that, I just don't know what's happening.
Yeah. Yeah.
Logistically.
We need some clarity. Yeah.
Yeah.
Honestly, I saw a book cover for a monster romance that was like a spider, and I'm like, no.
Oh, yeah. And it's a whole series.
Yeah, over my dead body. Like, there's probably a book of that too. Yeah. I don't know. I don't want it. It's not for me. If you enjoy it, good for you. Not for me. But one of the tropes that I will never read would be a very specific taboo romance, because taboo can be anything that's just not like deemed normal by society.
Yeah, it's very wide.
Yeah, but like for me, so I will read the occasional age gap depending on the circumstances, because sometimes I'll read one where I'm like, okay, they're 20 years apart, but it doesn't come across as creepy, versus other ones, the way they're written, I'm like, this is a little icky for me.
Right.
You know, so okay, I can get behind that. Sometimes, you know, like teacher student, but it's like post-secondary, you know, it's always legal age, consent, whatever. I'm like, okay, I can read that sometimes. I cannot do incest. I have never read one, and I'm not interested. That just freaks me out.
Yeah, I haven't read... I mean, I guess I have read some like taboo things. I've read stuff with age gaps, and probably some things that are in the dark romance genre would naturally fit into kind of taboo as well. But yeah, there are, when it comes to what I think of first when I think of taboo is like father-daughter, brother-sister, those kinds of things. Yeah. And I'm like, I have a dad. So I don't want to read that because it grosses me out.
Yeah.
I don't have any siblings. So maybe if I read a brother-sister one, I would be disengaged enough that it wouldn't bother me that much because I don't have any experience to draw upon.
Yeah.
But it doesn't make me feel good when I think about it. No. So I think that it's just not something I would be totally interested in.
Yeah, no, me neither. I have no desire, literally and figuratively, to read that. I don't know.
There is a ghost in your room. The door just opened and closed.
Scott? It was just Scott.
Oh. I couldn't see him in the
corner.
I
am recording. But Nikki was like, there's a ghost. The door moved.
Ghost? I was checking him out.
It's a man!
See him. Even worse.
Something I recently started reading, which is not that, like, it's just a weird segue going from like taboo incestual romances into this.
I love it.
But I started reading some sports romances recently, and I actually really like it.
I didn't even realize that was a subgenre. I guess it makes sense because
Yeah.
there are a lot of books that revolve around hockey players or basketball or whatever.
Football,
Whatever it
sports
is,
ball,
yeah.
whatever, ball sports. But like okay. I was talking to a coworker at work the other day about this book I was reading. I started reading the Off Campus series by Elle Kennedy, who is a Canadian author. Did not know that, but super cool. And it follows different players on a college hockey team in Boston, I think, or Boston area. And like, I said to my coworker, I'm sorry, but when I went to high school, we had a few hockey players come from like different provinces to specifically play on our team or whatever, you know? And they were not like these guys in the book. They were not this much of a dreamboat. Like, yeah, they were muscly, but they were dumb. The ones at my school, they were dumb and they were rude and, well, they weren't into me, that's for sure. So these books where it's like, oh, the hockey player, he's the player on campus, everyone wants to be with him, and this shy, quiet, artsy girl, he like catches her eye and he has to be with her. That did not happen at my high school. Okay,
I don't think that's happening at any high school.
no, but I mean, this is in university too, or college, the books, but
Right.
like, it's so good, Nikki. I
Is it?
freaking loved it. Yeah, because it's funny
Oh.
and it's steamy. And at least the first book, I've only read the first two so far, but the first book is The Deal. And both main characters have really good backstories and conflicts that they're dealing with. So it was like really good. I was super invested in both of them and wanted them to be happy. And it was just so freaking good. Oh my God. So good. So I highly
Yeah.
recommend.
I would definitely try a sports romance. I've never really thought about it before.
Right?
I've never been like, I'm really interested in reading something about a dude who plays on a team.
Yeah.
Like,
I know.
I've never really thought about it.
No, like I've seen movies like that, or like, you know, there's a pro baller or there's a physiotherapist and the athlete or something, you know, but like I didn't really read that until recently.
Yeah.
And I still wouldn't say that like the sports part of it is what draws me, because like I liked sports growing up. I don't have an issue with sports, but I'm not picking up the book being like, oh, a hockey player, you know, like I don't care. That don't impress me
Yeah.
much, as Shania Twain once said. So, you know, it
Yeah.
take it or leave it. But I had a great time reading it, so I would recommend
That's
that
awesome.
series. Yeah, loved
That
it.
made me think of what is it? To All the Boys I Loved Before.
Oh, I haven't read
Because
that.
he's on like the rugby team or the field hockey team or something.
Oh.
And they do kind of talk about like his games and stuff like that in it. And I think I did like that aspect where he was kind of like a jock and she was a nobody, but also the like fake dating aspect of that book I loved.
Yes.
I think I read all 3 books in the series in 3 days.
Oh, wow.
It was when I was just getting back into reading. I had watched the first movie or something, and I was like, oh my God, I need to read this right now. And I read them all. I wasn't working at the time. It was like COVID and whatever. And I devoured those books. They were great.
Oh, I didn't know
So
you read
much fun.
those. Cool.
Yeah.
I loved the movie, so I mean, interesting. We have so many copies of those books at work. I'm like, has
know.
everyone read this already? Like, I don't know. We still have
I think
them.
they have.
Right?
I think they
mean,
have.
That's what I thought about Colleen Hoover, and yet we keep stocking her books and they keep flying off the shelves. So, you know,
Yeah.
we're going to be reading her
At the
too.
point of us recording this, we can't talk a lot about Colleen Hoover because we've never read one of her books.
No.
But just you wait.
We will.
Yeah.
Oh my
2
God.
of them.
Yes, I am very excited about that. I'm excited and I'm also terrified. So we will
Yeah.
see.
And it's It's kind of crazy. I mean, It Ends With Us is obviously very popular right now. Everybody is talking about it. Everybody's buying it. Everybody's reading it. But not a romance.
No, it's a fiction.
Yeah.
In the stores, anyway.
That's weird to me.
Yeah. I mean, we haven't read it yet, so I don't know what the ending is, but I imagine it has something to do with how it ends. It ends right. But because, yeah, I was saying to Nikki before we started recording, in order for it to be classified as a romance at the bookstore I work at or like in a library, it has to end with a happily ever after. So if it's not a clear happily ever after, or it's kind of like left up to your imagination, or there's drama still, whatever, it's not a romance, even if there is a very heavy romantic plot line. So maybe that's it. I don't know, because we haven't read it yet. We'll have to see, but
yeah,
we'll find out. I don't know.
I know. Oh my goodness.
I have a very important to me discussion question for you, Nikki, for both of us. But
okay.
So I've heard this many times. I'm sure you've heard it once or twice, but mostly from men, but women too. Do you think reading steamy books is the same as watching porn? Do you think it's like, we're sitting here talking about porn to each other, or like girls who are friends or whatever, they're like, oh, read this book, whatever. Do you think it's the same thing? Because I know there's a lot of people who feel that way, and I want to open up a discussion.
I would say no.
Yeah, me too.
I think pretty point blank, it is not like watching porn. I think when first of all, these are fictional characters.
Yeah.
You're not watching anybody be put in situations maybe they don't want to be in real life, or being objectified in certain ways or whatever. All of the things that are happening on that page are not real.
Yeah.
I think there's nothing wrong with porn, and I think that the laws are getting better to protect people who work in those environments. But there are still a lot of stuff happening in the industry that you're watching and you might not be aware of what's going on. People's ages, people's
consent,
whatever.
Yeah,
all of that stuff. So no, I don't think it is like watching porn. I think obviously people can get the same kind of gratification from it, which is great, but no.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think it's the same at all. And I was having a discussion actually with my husband the other day in the car because I was talking about a book I was reading, and he was like, what's the difference between romance and erotica? And I've looked up different definitions, and it all kind of relates to, like, in erotica, sex is like, it doesn't need to be used to forward the plot or character development. And if you take out those scenes of the book, you're drastically changing the plot or the storyline. So, like, in a romance book, sex is there to further the plot or develop a character or whatever. Like, there's another purpose behind just sex. However, I don't think erotica is porn either. I think you can probably find a book that feels more like a traditional porn, if you will, I guess. But, like, to me, I agree with you, Nikki. I don't think it's porn at all. And I think, like, the difference is, it's not real people. And you could argue, like, well, porn's not real. Well, it is, because there's real people doing these things for you to watch, But in this, it's like, it's words. You use your imagination. Everything is escapist. Even if you read a dark romance, it's not real. There's no real impact on anyone. It's just a story. And I mean, even if you look at like a contemporary, you watch a movie and there's like a sex scene that's like close-ups of elbows and like who knows, right? Just like, oh, sex, whatever.
Yeah.
But sex happens in real life. So why wouldn't it happen in a book? Like, what's the issue? The issue is someone has decided to write it more descriptively. That's the issue, like, I don't know. I don't think it's porn. I think it's very empowering if you like reading steam, and if you don't, that's okay. But I don't think there's anything wrong with it. And I think if people would just like let people read what they want to read, the world would be a better place, you know? And like
Yeah.
there's no sense in my eyes anyway to shame someone for enjoying reading that. And also like no one's being hurt by it. So like who cares, you know?
Right.
Who cares? It's like what's different between, you know, me reading a smutty sports romance versus like a Harry Potter book with magic for someone who's religious, and I was like, no, you know, like whatever.
Yeah.
It's make believe. Like who cares?
I know.
Who cares? No.
Apparently some people do.
Yes.
I've personally never heard somebody talk about it that didn't have the same opinion as us.
Oh, really?
I've heard people who have the same opinion as us talk about how other people don't feel that way. But I haven't actually heard anybody ever talk about like, these are the reasons I think that romance is like porn or whatever.
I have spoken to a few older women at work, whether they were customers or coworkers, and they immediately like get really this like nasty look on their face, like, ugh, you know, like just disgusting, this dirty book, whatever. And I'm like, okay, but you're married, you've had children, you've had sex because you have had children. What is the issue here? And like, no one's making you read it. So, but I can't say that at work, right? I just kind of nod and go, yeah, well, I'm not bothered by it, you know, like, so it's
My
just
theory is that people who are mad about it are just jealous that they're not getting any of that stuff in their life.
I mean, maybe.
I don't know why else anybody would be like so up in arms.
Right?
Like, yeah, you just don't read it if you
No.
don't like it. There's a lot of things I don't like to read and I just don't read them.
Yeah, unless it's for the podcast, and then we suffer through
Yep.
it for you.
Exactly.
I had to help this man at work once, and he literally came up to me and said, hey, I'm trying to find a book for my wife. She likes to read smutty books. Or no, he didn't say smutty. Sorry, he said slutty. She likes slutty
Ooh.
books. And I was like, do you mean romance?
that.
Yeah, I literally looked at him and said, do you mean romance? And to top it off, he had his young son with him. And he kept talking about how his wife reads this romantic crap. She likes vampires and shit, guys in castles, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay, does she watch Bridgerton? Would she like historical? Like, I'm trying to be diplomatic here. And I could tell he was embarrassed about talking about this. And I'm like, well, why are you asking me for help then? If you're trying to buy your wife
Yeah.
something. I gave her, this was all for her, okay? I gave her 3 very, very steamy books by Sierra Simone. So you're welcome. I hope you enjoyed them. She writes very steamy books, I would recommend. And some of them are dark as well. You would like it. You would really like it,
Love
Nikki.
it.
But yeah, I was like, how dare you? She is not going to let you touch her because you're a fucking asshole, okay? But I just looked at him and went, romance? So
Yeah, that bothers me.
Yeah.
Just specifically the like, she reads slutty books.
yeah,
Like, get a grip, dude.
yeah.
Also, I can't believe you're talking about your wife like that in front of your son.
I know.
Like, hey, if you want to talk shit about your wife, maybe don't do it in front of her offspring. I
Maybe
don't
just
know.
don't talk shit about your wife, period. You know, like, why are you married to her
That's
then?
hard for some people, apparently.
Right? Why is she married to you? Better question.
Right?
Because he didn't look that impressive. But anyways, this is not about him.
Isn't it, though?
Nikki, I would love for you to tell me some of your favorite authors or favorite romance books you've read over the past little bit, because I feel like I've dropped a few people's names and stuff, but I want to hear.
Yeah. So, I already mentioned her, but the Never King series, or Our Vicious Darling, I can't remember what the series is called. Peter Pan, Reverse Harem by
Dark.
Nikki St. Crow. very dark, very fantastical. They're like novellas. I would say maybe 130 pages tops. There's 3 of them. There's definitely more coming out, and I can't wait. It's like, I don't know. It's amazing.
It's wild.
It is wild. I got Kelly to read them because I was like, I can't. I need to talk about this with somebody else.
Yeah.
Another one. These are both ones I mentioned in my 2023 best of. Legacy of God series by Rena Kent. Dark romance. Mafia, like Russian mafia, university students.
Oh, okay.
And it's all like a guy girl. It's not a reverse harem situation. And each book follows a different person in the friend group.
Okay.
And it is crazy. The first one is definitely the darkest. With like borderline, I was uncomfortable reading some of it, but the end like wrapped up really nicely. I'm trying to think about like others, but those are the 2 that kind of pop out for me. Rena Kent and Nikki St. Croix are definitely like auto-buy authors for me now.
That's awesome. You should actually buy the physical copies too.
Oh, I'm going to.
Yes, especially because they're releasing way more of these spicy books from like Kindle, Book Talk, whatever. They're releasing way more of them as physical books now for people to have with like, I forget what they're called, but like the safe covers, you know, like discreet covers. That's what they are, discreet.
Yeah.
So like Priest by Sierra Simone, one I recommended to you before. The original cover was like a shirtless guy with like a rosary or whatever. And now the new cover is just like the word priest with roses, you know, like this could be anything. This could be a nice religious literary fiction. We don't know unless you read the back.
Hopefully nobody picks it up thinking that, because they will be in for a shock.
Will they ever? Maybe that'll be a happy surprise. I don't know, but say a few Hail Marys, right? That's how it works.
Of course it is. Of course.
I want to recommend to you, Nikki, and to whoever's listening, if you like BDSM books, there's a lot of them, and I don't know if it's because of 50 Shades of Grey or if it was before. Like, I have no idea because I was not reading them at the time that came out, so I have no idea. But this one is called Praise by Sarah Kate, and Kate is with a C, and it is so good. It's exactly what it sounds like. Praise. Okay, so if you like praise kink, if you like someone who is in charge and is like supportive, protective, highly recommend. Nikki's got her phone out. It was a lot of fun. I read it like a year or 2 ago, but it was so good. And she has like a little series where it features another person in their club or whatever. And I also, similar to that, but not, well, similar. I just told you about the book I finished on Kindle, Manhunt by Vanessa Vale. Oh my God, it was so much fun. My only critique was that I wanted more steam because there was so much buildup, and then there was only like 2 scenes that were like truly steamy. So I was kind of like, because it was not very long, and it was so many tropes in one. It was age gap. It was small town. It was billionaire CEO. There was like the light BDSM, but only in the sense that he was like dominant and protective. They didn't really do a lot of like kinky stuff. But yeah, highly recommend. It was a lot of fun. And the cover is super cute. I want to buy it. It's like a purple mountain or something. It's so cute.
Oh, nice.
But I would highly recommend. So, yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. Oh, but one thing we can talk about, because I know this is something that we both love in books, is forced proximity. I can't believe we didn't talk about this through the rest of the episode, but I think it's safe to say we love it.
Yes. 1,000 times yes. I love it. It just raises the stakes and the tension, you know, like for better or worse, if you're stuck together, you got to figure it out.
Yeah. Fantasy. You got to share a horse.
Yes!
You got to share a bed at the inn. Like, oh my God, there is nothing better. You know when that's coming. Shit's about to go down.
Yes. Fake dating, enemies to lovers, forced proximity, triple threat. Whoops, I just hit my mic.
Yep.
Triple threat.
Honestly, I like that's an A+ book for me.
Yes.
And it doesn't even really matter if the plot sucks if they have all of that.
Yeah. You know what we need? We need someone to write, or we need to write, a Prince Carden, enemies to lovers, forced proximity, fake dating, but Carden. You know what I mean? Like, from The Cruel Friends.
I do love that idea.
We need it. Please.
Yeah. I feel like everybody else needs it too, honestly.
Yes. Give the people what they want, okay?
Yeah. Bringing it back around full circle. I love it. But anyway, I just had to mention that before we wrap up because I feel like we were really missing a key aspect of our romance reading if we didn't touch on the forced proximity.
Yes.
But thank you so much, everybody, for listening to this special Valentine's Day episode of the Bring Your Own Book podcast. You can follow us on Instagram and TikTok to see more from us. And next week, we'll be delving back into From Blood and Ash by Jennifer L. Armentrout with a very special guest. And until next time, keep on drinking in good stories. Cheers!
Next time on BYOB, the Bring Your Own Book podcast. They found Finley this eve, just outside the Blood Forest, dead.